Let's set up VS Code. We'll start out with a basic configuration and then move on to optional plugins. So let's get started by navigating to the URL where we can download VS Code. Let's go ahead and download. Let's choose the option here to open when done. Let's go ahead and launch Visual Studio. I'm going to drag and drop a sample file. And as you can see there, out of the box, you get some basic syntax highlighting. You would also get some autocomplete and some additional features. Now, the additional plugins that we will be installing go further beyond that and give you hints as to what you might have done wrong, and we highly recommend them. However, make note that this is really the basic configuration and it's all you would need to write code. The additional plugins are nice to have, but not required. So let's go ahead and move on to the next step to install those plugins, and that is to install Nodejs. The URL is simply nodejs.org. And we're going to install the recommended version. We will go ahead and launch when done. Now let's go ahead and launch Node.js. We will install the packages using npm, which is part of Node. And the first one we're going to install is called ESLint. The second package is called ESLint plugin-html. And the third and last is called ESLint plugin import. Okay, let's go back to the editor. Here we will perform 3 steps. In the first step we will create a config file. In the second one we will install a plugin. And on the third one we will write a configuration within the editor which will reference the config file we wrote in the first step. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and write a new file. And I'm going to paste here the configuration for that file. And we will provide all of these files for you as well. I'm going to go ahead and save the file. Let's create a new folder called VS Code for it. And let's go ahead and do this at the root. And the name of the file is simply a convention for this type of configuration. And it's the following. In the next step, we will install the plugin ESLint. Once that installs, we'll go ahead and reload the editor. And in the last step, we will simply add a configuration to the editor. We do that by going to File, Preferences, User Settings, and entering the following. This is a configuration that I wrote beforehand and that we will make available for you on a separate file so you don't have to copy it by hand. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and save that file, close the editor, relaunch Visual Studio, and let's go ahead and pull in the sample. I'm going to go ahead and remove this semicolon here, which is not a good practice. And you'll note there that I am immediately given a red underlined squiggly, which says missing semicolon. This is what I meant at the beginning about getting hints in best practices when it comes to writing code, and also giving you some feedback as to what might be the problem in a certain statement that you write. So this is why I mentioned at the beginning that we highly recommend that you install these plugins. It's a pretty elaborate installation, but you only have to do it once, and once you do it, you can get the benefit of these suggestions and these hints. So with that, I'll go ahead and wish you happy coding and say goodbye.